Well, Stallions or Stallionettes, we have a ton of good news to cover here today about the VSD or the Valve Steam Deck. It already seems like an impressive piece of tech, an awesome piece of gaming hardware. However, it has notably faster RAM than we initially thought. The 512GB model presumably will be available sooner than we thought. And most importantly, unlike previous articles had alluded to, this so far can play every single game in the Steam library. Let's get it. Alrighty, Stallions and Stallionettes, share my screen. These articles will be cited or sourced in the description below, as I do every time I cover any news in the gaming community or industry. We have 3 articles pulled up. We're going to cover them lickety-split, lick the clit. So first of all, updated Steam Deck specs have even better RAM than we initially thought. So the RAM was already a strong point, in my opinion, hardware-wise, with the Steam Deck, sporting 16GB of LPDDR5 RAM. However, they're faster as they are 4-channel, not 2-channel, which is great. Valve corrected Steam Deck specs to point out that the system's memory is considerably better than initially reported. Initial specs claim 16 gigs of LPDDR4, can't say that, so fast I can't even say it. DDR5 RAM, boasting 5.5 gigabytes per second in a dual channel setup that is very quick. However, it has been updated to show that it is quad 32-bit channels, giving the system a much healthier 128-bit memory bus with ample bandwidth. And that is very, very important considering this runs an APU, or as they call it, an API here, but it's an APU much like the consoles run. So even though this has PC-like capabilities, being able to do general productivity, web browsing, uninstall the Linux-based Steam OS and install Windows 10 or whatever operating system you want, basically do anything you can do on a gaming PC, more or less hardware-wise, it's a console because it has an APU system that shares a CPU, GPU, and memory all intertwined in one component. Very interesting. In my opinion, I would honestly categorize this, the Steam Deck, as its own thing. It's got gaming PC capabilities, but it's built like a console. It's very unique in a good way. Like the PS5 and Xbox Series, the Steam Deck uses a custom AMD API, which basically smashes the CPU and GPU together, meaning they have to share memory, or RAM, random access memory. Gaming PCs with dedicated graphics cards will separate system RAM and graphics memory, called VRAM, but the Steam Deck's processors use a combined pool of that LPDDR5 RAM. This makes memory bandwidth, not just the speeds, especially important since the system is sort of burning the candle from both ends. I really like that analogy, and to me, it helps me to visualize how this console gaming PC is going to run. Even if you have really fast memory, if you don't have enough room for both processors, you can see bottlenecks. So in my opinion, bottleneck wise, it was never going to be the RAM, even though now it is substantially better as we do have 4 channels, not 2. But what's faster is the bandwidth because it has 4 channels now. But that was never going to be the bottleneck in my opinion. The bottleneck would be on the GPU side of the house over here, as it only has 1.6 teraflops of performance. Now you can kind of argue that that's not really a big deal whatsoever because the screen itself, or the built-in monitor, if you will, is 800p 60 hertz. So you're most likely going to be playing games at 720 60. However, what happens when you're trying to play AAA games and you dock it, either with the Steam Dock, or you don't even need a dock, you simply plug in the DP or DisplayPort plug in the bottom and project it onto a monitor or a television and decide you want to push it to 1080 120 or really flex it and see what it can push at 1440. That's when you kind of run into issues, especially when you do consider the fact that the $300 budget banger Xbox Series S has slightly over 4 teraflops of graphical power. I know these are 2 completely different rigs, and this has a lot of capabilities that the Series S does not. I'm not really comparing them. I'm just mentioning price-wise, there is 4 teraflops on the Series S, and that pushes 1440 at 120 hertz in a lot of titles, with HDR and ray tracing in some titles, as where over here, it's going to be focusing primarily on between 720 and 800p 60 hertz. But for a lot of people, a lot of my viewership, what I've seen in the comment section is that a lot of people are basically going to be using this as an emulation powerhouse, or just to play some of their less intensive Steam titles, maybe not AAA games, maybe games from about 3 to 5 years ago. And for that purpose, I think this will be absolutely phenomenal. And it can certainly play everything in the Steam library that they have thrown at it thus far. So even if you are AAA gaming, you shouldn't have an issue either, as long as you're staying in that safe zone of 800p 60Hz. Valve has yet to discover a game that the Steam Deck cannot play. This is the first time we've achieved the level of performance that's required to really run the latest generation of games with no problems. All the games we wanted to be playable is, well, really the entire Steam library. We haven't really found something that we can throw at this bad boy that it can't handle. And because the Steam library games are PC files, PC games, it is easier for developer Valve to scale down those said games to run on the device, which generally hits 800p 30. I don't know why they say 30 here, because the screen does cap out at 60Hz, so why would you not want to double the frame rate if you can without any juddering or frame rate dips? In my opinion, I'm going to be targeting 60 even at the cost of resolution. If I have to drop resolution to hold a 60 hertz, I'm gonna do that. And earlier this week, there was an article saying that the Valve Steam Deck might not be capable of running some of the most popular games on the Steam library, such as Apex Legends, Destiny 2, PUBG, and Rainbow Six Siege. I did mention that news as soon as it came out. That is because the Steam Deck's operating system is a Linux-based Steam OS that therefore could not run the anti-cheat that is optimized for Windows 10. However, Valve countered that news by saying that they are continually looking to upgrade and improve Steam Deck OS, and this should be remedied before the device is launched later this year. That is awesome. We're going to talk about that launch date as well. The Steam Deck launches later this year in December of 21. Now, if you come over here to the Steam Deck page, the 64GB entry-level $400 model, which was originally saying the end of 22, is now synonymous across the board with all these models saying Q2 of 22. Now, granted, that is if you lock in one of these bad boys, a pre-order or reservation right now. So if you did lock one in on the initial drop, granted, it was hectic the first 30 to 60 minutes, and even the first day, it was kind of wonky. If you did lock one in early though, during one of the initial drops or runs, you should still be good with your original locked in date. I am sure you will get an email update from Steam if your date does fluctuate to the left or right. But if we come over here, the 512GB model, which is the one that I have reserved, perhaps will be launching sooner than expected. That is good news. The estimate for the 512GB model has fluctuated substantially since the pre-order went live, jumping from Q1 of 22 all the way to Q3 of 22. The Q3 estimate for the 512GB model was maintained until yesterday, when, to the joy of those who were lucky enough to pre-order the console, look at that, even Games Radar's calling it a console, it has an APU, it jumped down to Q2 of 22, potentially reducing that painful wait time by 3 months. So overall, I'm still very excited for the Valve Steam Deck. I do think it is an impressive piece of hardware, and I do think that, you know, PC, console, whatever you want to call this thing, like I said, it's its own thing. It's a blend of both, honestly. It has PC capabilities with its operating system manipulation, and basically you can do all kinds of stuff on it. You can program on it, you can code on it, you can probably run crypto mining software with it. Now, you ain't gonna do much. You got 1.6 teraflops of juice in her. You know, you can explore video editing on this thing, you know, dock it and try and run your favorite video editing software like Adobe Premiere or DaVinci Resolve. Probably won't have great results doing that either, but because this is the equivalent of a low to very bottom of the mid-end PC spectrum. But if you're comparing it to a portable console like the Nintendo Switch OLED, which will be releasing later this year at a retail price of $350, this will run graphical laps around that. So now that we know that we have faster RAM, it can run virtually every single title in the Steam library up until now. My dog is itching herself, and so if in case it sounds like my house is experiencing an earthquake, it's just my pupper over here. And the fact that the 512GB model might be available around 3 months early, this is all positive news thus far. If you're excited about the Valve Steam Deck and you want to get your hands on this piece of gaming hardware, whether you call it a PC or a console, go ahead and like the video. That helps it to be seen by more people out there, so this information, this news around the VSD can potentially reach them, which will help me grow this channel. In addition, brighten up their day just a skosh, might put a smile on their face, and that's the goal around here. That sounds incredibly corny. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover news in the gaming community and industry daily, as well as tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, as well as honest product reviews in the gaming space. And I will see you tomorrow because I upload daily. Peace.